This is TWiT.
Hey, buddy, are you a geek? Are you a tech enthusiast? Then I would love to invite you to join a tech community like no other. You can gain exclusive access to our incomparable quality tech content for just $7 a month with Club TWiT. As a member, you'll enjoy all TWiT TV shows ad-free, plus access private video feeds for insider shows like Home Theater Geeks and so much more. Dive into the members-only TWiT Plus bonus feed for behind-the-scenes content, club discussions, and special events. But here's the best perk. Join our incredible Discord community to watch live show productions, chat with hosts, and participate in exclusive members-only activities. It's your backstage pass to the world of TWiT. Whether you're a tech enthusiast or a lifelong learner, Club TWiT elevates your knowledge while entertaining your interests. Get 2 weeks free when you sign up now for $7 a month and unlock unparalleled access at twit.tv/clubtwit. That's twit.tv/clubtwit. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you and welcome to the club. Hello, everybody. Once again, welcome to a what we call it Live with Leo special. We're going to do this every month. Chris Marquardt, our photo guy, surprised me with an email saying, when are we on? And I said, oh, you want to do this every month? Okay, so say hello to Chris Marquardt in the Viewfinder Villa. His website, discoverthetopfloor.com. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Leo. Thanks for having me back.
I like this because it means we can do the photo review every 4 weeks, so there's a nice consistency.
It's cool. And the monthly thing is awesome. So.
Yeah. I should tell everybody that from now on, the Live with Leo segments, by popular demand of my team, will be Thursdays, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, and that is, I don't know. I have to do the math because we'll be on standard time. It'll be +8, so it'll be 9 p.m. Or as you people do it, 2100 UTC.
10 p.m. German time, because that's the one that's important for me.
For you, you have, see, this is why I could do all the time zones, but then the show would be over. So what I do now is I do UTC, and I say it's up to you to do the math. So you're UTC -1. +1.
Depends on which half of the year. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. So we are still, believe it or not,
time zones are so.
I hate it. I wish we just do everything UTC. My Nixie clock behind me is UTC, so that's how I know it's 2100. But we are actually that's wrong. The Nixie clock is confused about saving time, like everybody else. It's on the old calendar. In the United States, we are still in daylight saving time because.
And we have switched already.
And you've switched. Most of the world switched. It's because weird. Summertime should be in the summer, right? But they were going to change it. And the candy makers of America said, no, you can't change it till after Halloween, which was last night, because all the children, think of the children, they have to trick or treat in the light time, in the light. So we change it the weekend after Halloween. Do they do Halloween in Germany?
Yes.
I guess it's become international, huh?
We just copy what you guys do, and that's Germans, how it goes. Yeah.
Germans are weird. Their favorite Christmas television show is an old British comedy, very broad comedy.
I haven't watched it in 20 years. I loved it as a kid, but then after a while,
you see it 100 times, you pretty much get sick of it. All right, Chris, we had a photo assignment. We should do that. Oh, and we should explain when we do this every month. Now that we have an hour. We can do the photo assignment review, but we can also talk photography. And Chris has some subjects of interest. So we'll do that every month. This I'm happy because, as you know, I'm an avid amateur photographer. So I like talking about photography.
It's more fun if you have time and you can go into a bit more detail. So
no longer that 7-minute radio segment. We got an hour.
Yeah.
So first, the assignment. The assignment this month was delicate.
It was. And we had an overwhelming 7 submissions, I think.
In a way, I'm glad because we went from being a radio show syndicated to hundreds of markets And even then, we'd get 10, 11 submissions, right? To a little stream that is, I guess, technically probably available in more places because it's on the internet on 8 different streams,
more different platforms. That might bring in people who are interested in photography.
That's our idea.
Who want to have their pictures shown here and also discussed, which
it's
is
what's a free
cool
review.
about this.
So we are on 8 different. I always have to. How many years old are you, Leo? I'm 8. We have to do on 8 streams. I have to do this because otherwise I'll lose track. Discord for the Club TWiT members. We are on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, X.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, and we welcome the brand new TikTok. Have you heard of that?
Let's dance.
Yeah, we have to do a dance. I don't, and I suspect TikTok, we're going to get more people watching on TikTok and maybe some more submissions. So before we review, I guess I should explain the way this works. Every month, Chris will pick a word out of the fishbowl, an adjective, a descriptive noun, something that will just give you a hint as to what we're looking for. Then it's up to you to go out and take pictures. You can submit as many as 1 per week to our Flickr group. In fact, while you're watching, go ahead and open another tab and go to flickr.com, create an account, and then join the Tech Guy group, because that's where all of this happens. Once you're in the Tech Guy group, our wonderful moderator, who has stayed with us, thank you, Renee Silverman. She never left. She is going to accept your submission. Thank you. If you're new to the group, welcome you to the group. And then make sure you tag them. It's very important. We want to have tags on these. There's the Tech Guy group. That's how you'll know you're in the right place. 14,000 members, Chris.
Awesome.
14,000 members. We've been doing this since 2007. Look at that. 17 years. It's going to be 18 years in May. That's amazing.
That is so
You'll be able to vote. So once you submit it, tag it with the word of the week. In this case, it's delicate. So tag it TG for Tech Guy. See, Tech Guy group. Delicate, all one word. Or whatever the new adjective is. And then Chris will review those, and we have some delicate images this week. So kick us off.
Yeah, delicate, again, many different meanings and things. So I've gone through them and picked 3 that I liked or that I want to talk about. And the first one is by Anthony Brown, Delicate Balance.
Ooh, it is too, isn't it?
Which is, well, the photo has some delicacy to it, but then the subject itself is also delicate cut, because Anthony writes, delicately balanced creation in my backyard. And yes, they are really balanced and not held in place in any way. I was really sweating it out when the wind kicked up. So it's 2 forks on a bottle filled with water, and they are balancing an egg, I think.
Isn't that awesome?
So, but the delicacy of the photo is the depth of field, which you can either get by having a bigger sensor in your camera, like a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, or and throwing the background out of focus, or using a smartphone with portrait mode.
Nowadays, I mean, I've always thought portrait mode on the iPhone anyway was kind of obvious. Like there'd be little on the edges, little issues. Sometimes.
Getting so much better.
It's gotten better, hasn't it?
It has gotten better. It's still a mixture of like depth mapping using whatever LiDAR or stereoscopic cameras, plus some algorithmic AI-based rendering. And it doesn't always get it very super right, but right enough most of the time. And it's getting better, especially if the subject is something that the camera knows as in a person. So portrait mode works really good on people, but it's also getting much better on anything. And this is a thing that the camera might recognize it's a bottle, but then the rest, I'm not sure. These cameras know what they're looking at here.
Yeah, I don't know. He must have manually focused it. He shot it with a Canon EOS M6 Mark II and a 56 millimeter f1.4, although he was shooting at f2.8. So
Yeah, but then the distance also has an influence on how much the background gets out of focus.
It's a lovely, fun image.
And the focus is where it needs to be, because that's what you want to look at.
Right.
This strange but intriguing construction.
It actually looks like a person playing leapfrog over the bottle a little bit.
Some pareidolia here. So seeing things in things that are not there.
Nice.
Awesome. Okay,
right.
Second one is by Demi Lente, frequent contributor. Hello.
We love our frequent contributors. Thank you, Demi.
Morning showers, drops of water on the petals of a celandine plumeria flower. Never heard.
It's a Hawaiian flower, and they smell so good.
After a morning rinse with the hose. Okay.
Wow, she grows her own plumeria. Very nice.
So what we're looking at is a close-up shot of a flower, the raindrops on the petals, nice focus. Again, very shallow focus. It's almost a macro shot, and the focus is on one of the petals and the little drops that distort what's behind it. So
very nice.
A very classic kind of shot.
Yeah,
but also a very, very delicate flower in there.
I always like to look at the EXIF information. And this was a Canon 5D Mark IV. Yes. And it was a macro lens, shot with a macro lens. So,
and the difference between a macro lens and a non-macro lens, there are a couple of differences. The main difference is that with a macro lens, you have a shorter minimal focus distance. You can get closer to what you want to take a picture of. And normally lenses that are not macro they need a bigger distance between the camera and the subject. And other than that, a lot of the macro lenses are just relatively normal lenses. There are some macro lenses that are also being used in portrait photography because they make a nice picture. So minimum focus distance is kind of the key there.
Yeah, I keep talking about my special lens. My special lens.
Don't we love our toys?
I have a gas problem, gear acquisition syndrome. But it doesn't. As many of these special wide open lenses, its closest is I think a meter. So I can't get anything macro. And I was curious what you thought about this. So I went out. My goal is to never change this. This is a f.95 lens, and I just want to shoot it. So I got a neutral density filter so I can shoot out anywhere that it's not pitch black.
That's how I do it.
Because I always want to shoot wide open, right?
And by the way, if you can turn this, you can reduce the minimum focus distance on any lens by using an extension ring, like between the camera and the lens. If you increase the distance between camera and lens, or you have an achromatic.
That's what I wanted to show you. This is my Heliopan magnifying lens.
Yes.
And so you can see, and I have several of these. I have three levels of magnification. So that turns it into a macro, right?
Gets you closer.
Does it
increases magnification? Yeah.
I mean, this is a very fancy lens, which I bought used, by the way. I'm not crazy. But does this really degrade it completely to put one of these magnifiers?
Not really, especially if it's, but who made it?
Heliopan.
Heliopan is,
it's made in Germany. How bad could it be?
we can make things that are not top of the line. But try if you get a cheap like extension ring, just the distance between camera and the lens determines the focus distance as well. So you get to
that might be another way to do it.
And that does not introduce any glass in the path.
So do you put that on the mount of the lens, not on the
Yes. And then there are extension rings that have like electrical contacts that make your autofocus still work, and others that turn it into a manual lens. if that lens is manual, then you're
this
fine.
This is as manual as you get. It's a range
take a cardboard roll.
Yeah.
Like from a toilet roll.
You can't get much more manual.
Paint it black and it'll be fine.
All right. Demi 5D Mark IV. Very nice camera with a macro lens and a
5D Mark IV is the camera I'm looking into right now. Here,
you
that's
use
my webcam.
a Canon 5D as
that's
your
my webcam right now. Well, sometimes.
That's the nicest. That's the nicest webcam.
That's the most
I've ever heard
overkill
of.
in a webcam that you.
What
can
lens
think of,
do you use?
It's a 24-105
Nice
f4.
Very nice. No wonder you look so good, and the bokeh is so beautiful. Do you say bokeh, bokeh?
I call it bokeh, but I think
bokeh.
I don't even know.
It's
a Japanese word, and I think bokeh is the pronunciation. But then I don't speak Japanese,
I don't either. Yeah,
I wouldn't know.
Demi lente. Thank you. And now for our third.
The third one is from Reykjavik by Ron Hikes 816, Reykjavik, Iceland. There's a church in Reykjavik, and I've taken a similar picture there before. And what we're looking at are arches in that church. The church has...
This is the ceiling, the apse.
It's a ceiling, yes. And it has this long aisle on the side. It's either on the right or the left of the church. They're kind of high and narrow. Well, relatively narrow compared to the height, of course. And it's just a very geometric structure, a very symmetrical structure, and that's how this is photographed. And it's a black and white conversion. And there is something I love it when pictures are kind of very clear, and this is so straight in the middle. Ron has done a great job at getting exactly at the right spot and holding the camera exactly symmetrical. Left and right is virtually identical. Not that easy to do, and it's a very delicate, intricate structure there.
Lovely, and
very lovely.
From Reykjavik, which is you always get points from
extra Iceland points. Yes.
Extra Iceland points. I love the Shetlands in Iceland. Those are great. Ron Hikes. And no EXIF on this. So I just have to admire.
Guesswork. Yeah, this has been processed and dealt with in one or another way, and that probably lost the EXIF data.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. I shoot a lot of color because I have a color camera. But I end up often making it monochrome with various plugins. In fact, on the camera,
it takes complexity out.
Yeah, I like it. I love monochrome. I also so I shoot RAW, but I do RAW plus JPEG, and the JPEG preview in the viewfinder is black and white. So it kind of reminds me to look at the composition.
It's not just a reminder. If you live preview a black and white photo, then you will start switching your mind into a black and white mode.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to do.
And especially because what the camera has to do when you shoot black and white is it has to take some of the some colors and convert them into a gray value, and not all of those colors are converted to the same gray value. Otherwise, you wouldn't see anything. So,
right.
Getting that kind of getting a feeling for that is really valuable. So you can look at a scene and just say, "Oh, wow, this red thing is probably going to turn out really dark in the photo, and that might be nice." So you can kind of train your brain to see in black and white.
I'm a learner, so that's why I'm exactly trying to train my brain.
And learning by doing is most fun anyway.
Yeah. Leica makes a monochrome version of their cameras.
Yes.
They cost more, but the difference is it doesn't have a Bayer filter. So color cameras, to avoid fringing, I'm told, and moire have a filter, the Bayer filter, that fixes that. But if you're doing monochrome, there's no issue with fringing. So you don't need a Bayer filter. So they do a stop better, and they're more accurate. I mean, I often wonder, should I have bought the monochrome version? But then sometimes I want a color picture.
So the Bayer filter does the color. It turns different pixels into red, green, and blue. And then there's another one that's called the anti-aliasing filter, which will sort of make the picture a bit less sharp. It takes some sharpness out, but that will remove zigzagging and different kind of moire things. But then the camera has to kind of resharpen it again a bit. And that can introduce artifacts. So without all these filters, yes, you have much more light on the sensor. But But also,
if I were made of
you
money,
lose
I'd
color.
have both. But I could barely afford the one. So,
The black and white ones take a bit more skill because you know the if you are in whatever Lightroom or something and you have an overexposed fringe edge of a cloud or something, you can pull that back in with RAW.
And I always expose to not clip the lights. I always
but
that
just in
way
case you do,
I know I can bring it up. Yeah,
but you can bring it back down. But with a black and white camera, you cannot do this in a RAW picture. What if it's overexposed? It's gone. So makes it a bit more risky, but also helps you develop more skill because you have to. It's an interesting kind of.
Well, the other thing, because this is manual focus and it's rangefinder, which is a weird way of focusing, this requires. It's one of the reasons I wanted this camera because I wanted the effort to, and the thought involved in taking a picture with this. And so I don't take as many pictures, but I often get pictures I like better out of it. So
are you using it as the rangefinder was intended to be used?
Well,
I don't know. Are you left-eyed or right-eyed? Which eye do you look through the viewfinder?
I left eye.
Okay.
No, you're supposed to do that.
Well, the thing is,
then what?
If you have right eye preference, what this is made for is you leave both eyes open, so you have an overview of the scene with the other eye. You see who's in street photography, you see who's going to enter the frame before.
That's a good advice. And
that's why the viewfinder is at the side of the camera. Now, of course, if your preferred eye is left, then that'll probably make your brain go.
No, it's going to take some getting used to it. But I have weird eyes. I only use one at a time, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm used to using. Well, now I don't know. Yeah, no, I can do this. So I'm focusing on the camera.
It takes getting used to.
Yeah, well, and then that's how you would know that somebody knows what they're doing is if they're. I always do this, and it's not very comfortable because my nose is pressing the back of This is much better. I like it.
And with the viewfinder on the side, you do not have a camera in the way you kind of are on the side.
Although you have to be careful on these because if it's too big a lens, which this is right on the edge of, the lens occludes the lower right-hand corner of the picture. So I wish I could show people what I'm seeing, but so the way a rangefinder. It's weird. You've got a prism and you're lining up. You want to find some vertical lines and you're lining them up. And then once it's lined, the good thing is when it's in focus, when they're aligned, you really have a good sharp focus. The bad thing is it's hard sometimes to spend some time going like this. Yeah. So I have
but then you develop some muscle memory as to how far you move the focus ring to get. Anyways.
This is going to take some muscle memory to get to use both eyes.
Next month, I'll show you a proper rangefinder, but it's in repair right now. It's
your Rolleiflex. What is it?
It's the so-called Texas Leica, which is not a Leica. It's a Fujica GW690. It's a medium format rangefinder.
Ooh.
And it looks a bit like a Leica. It's bigger, it's film, and same rangefinder principle, but like this size. It's like
this is heavy enough when you add the 0.95 lens. It's pretty hefty. But I have to say I am in love with this, and I only want to shoot with this now because I just love the depth of field. The bokeh is incredible on this.
Yeah.
So all right. Well, thank you to Ron and Demi and Anthony. And by the way, I should mention Renee Silverman is in the chat, still here, she says. So great thanks to Renee for keeping our group going and taking the submissions. And we're glad we're back on a monthly schedule. And to answer Monkey Pat's question, the Flickr group name is Tech Guy from the old radio show. And Demi, thanks you for picking her.
Both of them, they're a couple.
Oh, so that's why one's upside down?
Probably.
Anyway, it's wonderful to have all of you in the chat. And so glad that you're all watching, especially our Club TWiT members who make this possible. If you are not in the club, you can try it for free for 2 weeks. twit.tv/clubtwit. $7 a month, ad-free versions of all the shows, plus you support shows like this, additional shows. The way we're doing it from now on, whether it's Stacy's Book Club, the Coffee Clash that we're doing now with Mark Prince, the Coffee Geek, Chris Marquardt's photo reviews, and we're going to add some more over time, is we will give club members, everybody can watch it live, but that's kind of serendipity. I'm around at 1 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon, that kind of thing. But we will have available on the TWiT Plus feed for 1 month for club members, and then we'll turn it back public on YouTube so everybody can watch it. So a month after we do it, you'll be able to watch it. And if you're not in a big hurry, you can do that. But if you are, you should join the club because it helps us out an awful lot in a tough. Chris is, because we have, I don't know if you knew this, there's an election, a U.S. election coming up on Tuesday.
I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah, it's just,
is that something?
It's just a little election. And there seems to be a certain amount of uncertainty in the world around that, and which I understand. It's always like, well, what's going to happen? They're two very different candidates. So everything's kind of on hold, including especially podcast advertising. So we have been unable to sell a single ad unit in 2025, like none. But I know it. I hope the dam will break as soon as the election's over and everybody goes, okay, well, now we know what's going to happen. But in the meantime, really, the club, thank you. You're keeping these big bright lights on. So one of the things we'd like to do every month with Chris is talk about photography.
Well, we have to get a new assignment first.
We got to get a new. Okay, Renee, get your pencil out. Write this down. The first, we got to go to the fishbowl.
The fishbowl, and I will pull a new word from the fishbowl. And this one is, let me put the fishbowl to the side.
Did you get trick-or-treaters last night on Halloween? Anything?
Yeah.
Did you? Yeah.
A couple. We live in a village.
Yeah.
So.
What's the word? Forgotten.
Forgotten.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Oh my goodness, I love that. That is
awesome.
Wow. The mind works immediately on what forgotten.
That's universal. There's so many things that it could be your old yogurt in the fridge, or
yeah, something in the fridge. We don't like to say what forgotten means. Or any of our adjectives. We just let you decide. Take a picture. You take many pictures. That's what this is all about. Is the idea is that you're going to go out, you're going to take as many pictures as possible. This is an excuse to say, honey, I'm going out. I got to get something forgotten or whatever, or to sit in your closet and take pictures of forgotten clothing. Whatever it is, it's an excuse. You can submit, if you get a good one, up to one per week to Renee in our Flickr group, flickr.com/groups/techguy. And tag it, though, if you would, so Chris knows when he's looking at them, this one's a submission for the forgotten assignment. And the tag should be TG, Tech Guy, Forgotten. TG, Forgotten. And in 4 weeks. So that means you can submit as many as 4 photos. And actually, we did have one guy in our group who was who submitted 3. Took pictures every week.
One a week, yeah.
One a week.
Awesome.
And that's great. We love that. So please do. And in roughly a month, this was 5 weeks. It's roughly a month. It just depends on.
Yeah, we should probably put it on the calendar.
You're going back out on the road, aren't you?
Yeah, next year I'm going back to Eastern Europe.
Time. Okay.
Eastern Europe. But until then I'm here and looking forward to each of these.
This is an ND filter. This is 6 stops of ND. Can you see anything?
I call the sunglasses for your camera.
I got that one first, and then I got a variable ND filter because I realized I don't want to take it off all the time. So now this one can go, let's see. This is another one made in Germany. This one is Variograu, and it goes from, I don't know what. Oh, it's Heliopan. It goes from 1 to 12. I don't know what they stand for, but I don't know how it does this, but as I turn it, it gets denser.
It's 2 polarizers on top of each other, and you turn them and they kind of add up in some way.
Some miraculous way. It is ND 0.3 to ND 1.8. So that's enough to go out in daylight with this lens and take some pictures.
Yes.
Okay. So you know what? Gosh darn it. So I resist doing this because I don't want you to feel in any way. So maybe I'll make up a pseudonym and submit this pseudonymously so that you don't feel like in any way, or I'll submit them and that's not in the group, but if you like it, we could mention it. How
like
about
Schmio Schmaport?
Schmio Schmaport is going to submit some forgotten photos.
Just a pseudonym that makes you kind of anonymous. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I will take some pictures. You can decide what to do with Schmio Laporte's photos. I like that idea. Tell me about your upcoming expeditions.
So next year in April and early May, I'm going back doing what I did end of last year, the Eastern European photo road trip, which is a photo tour to explore kind of some of Eastern Europe's most beautiful and historic sites. We'll do this going from Berlin to Dresden to Prague to Vienna, Budapest, and down to Transylvania in Romania in an electric vehicle with like a really tiny group. We're talking 2 or 3 guests on these tours. Will like have a couple to 3 hours of driving every day around noontime. And then we check into a hotel, then we go explore and look at Budapest
That's Budapest. That's the Parliament building.
Amazing. That's amazing.
You should see that. And this is the river, the Danube. And you should see it sailing down the river at night. They light it up. It's so gorgeous.
It's amazing. And then we'll
Dresden,
go and
Prague. These are the most photogenic cities in the world.
They are. They are. The culture is amazing. The culinary variety is amazing. We'll spend a day or 2 at these sites and a couple more days in Transylvania with the old castles, the fairy tale castles.
Oh, I've been to the Schönbrunn Palace. That is stunning.
So, and as it's a tiny group, and by the way, we do the same thing on the way back with a different group. So you can
so there's 2
choose
tours.
which direction you want to go. And then we, as we are a tiny group, it's easy to be flexible. We will discuss up front the things we want to see. So it's kind of a tailor-made, custom, bespoke kind of boutique photo tour.
Wow. How fun.
And it's 10 days, one direction.
I did talk to somebody who went on the tour last year and just loved it. He was at our New York City meetup. So take advantage of this. Yeah. And you're getting coaching from one of the best photographers around. You know, did I bring it here? It's in my library. I think I have your film book and the wide angle photography book in here. And just really great books. Still in print? Can people still get them?
Oh yeah, totally. You can get them anywhere you get books. The wide angle photography book and film photography book.
I knew it would be something kind of
special. Film is having a resurgence right now.
Oops, let me plug in.
It's coming back big time at this moment in time.
Look at that. And it's full of ideas, images, stuff I love it.
You get some camera technology in there. You get some like how to develop film. You get lots of very half secret tips there.
Well, you know what? Forgotten tips, tips that people knew in the days of film photography. But
again, I'll bring next month. I'll bring the Texas Leica, which is
I'd love to
amazing camera. It's huge.
I'd love to see it.
But it's fun.
And then there's a wonderful book a more recent one on wide angle, which I'm a big fan of. I really like shooting wide angle.
And wide angle is kind of is a bit harder than telephoto because you end up with more stuff in the lots of stuff in the frame, and you have to make it work visually, and that really means approaching photography in a bit of a different way.
Nice.
So
very nice. Chris, do you have to be able to drive to be on the Eastern European photo road trip?
No, I'll be the instructor. I'll be the tour guide. I'll be the chauffeur.
It's Chris's
like
car. He does the driving.
It's like a group of friends doing a photo tour together.
Oh, how fun! So Mark, don't go. Do it. Mark says, if I could drive, I'd be there. Well, you can't. You don't have to drive.
You don't have to. You just come and
have to be able to sit
in the passenger seat or in the back seat, and we'll talk photography while we drive, and then we'll explore in the evening, in the night. Some of those are night shoots, and then in the morning, and then we continue to the next spot.
So the last time we talked, you had just gotten your iPhone 15 Pro Max. 16, I mean.
16
and we
Pro.
talked, because that's the one, or Pro. You didn't get the Max. Doesn't matter.
Pro.
It's the same camera. And we were talking about the camera control, and the jury was out a little bit on that.
So it took me a bit to warm up to the camera control button, which is this. Yeah, hard to see here. It's the button it's the photo button, pretty much.
Yeah, I kind of. You know what? I have to say, the one reason I really like it is because I no longer have to put the camera on my screen. I always know how to get the camera launched on my phone. I mean, it's very direct, right?
Interesting. You gave me a really crucial tip. You said disable the light press, which is this half press that is kind of tough to get right because it's not mechanical. It's a haptic thing. But I had to kind of neuter the button a bit because I switched it to double click to open the camera because
so you don't accidentally hit it.
Way too often I had an accidental camera that I didn't want. I
have a lot of those in my photo album. So I have this set for zoom, and then you mentioned the light press.
I had to take this off.
But the double click, I can't remember now. The light press, you can change what your setting is for. I know. You know what? I know what you mean.
Here's an interesting observation because there are so many different options now to take a picture with this smartphone, as in like to actually do the exposure. And I found that there are 3 different levels of hardness. Like you press a button, and that will inevitably somehow move the camera, and you don't want the camera moving while you take a picture. And there are 3 hardness levels, and depending on what I shoot, I either touch the screen to take the picture, which is very soft. You don't really have to exert any force. Or for a medium kind of thing, I use the volume button, and the camera control button is the hardest one. They probably to avoid the accidental bringing up of the camera, that one takes the most force, and it kind of ends up jerking the camera a bit. Now,
that's not good.
Apple will, of course, they know that, so they are probably, because the camera takes pictures all the time anyway when it's on, so they'll probably take a picture slightly before you press the button.
Wouldn't that be good? Yeah,
to avoid that jerk. But as a photographer who uses different kind of cameras often, it's in my finger to not move the camera. And
yeah. So you have it set so you have to press it. Yeah, you're right. I have to press it a little hard.
It's the toughest one.
Yeah, that's not good.
So I've come around to the camera control button, but I had to really take some of the functionality out to make it work somehow.
I wonder if I can just get this matched up just so. So now it's a little weird, but yeah, there we go. Hi, everybody.
Anyway, here's another interesting finding about Apple, because that I also recently realized. This is going to be a bit nerdy right now, but Apple, you know how Apple likes to virtualize things. We look at, for example, best example is the Retina display. You remember the moment that this magical 300 points per inch resolution was reached? The resolution started to not matter anymore. Like you can change the resolution on your laptop, and it doesn't matter. It's a virtual kind of thing.
That's why they call it Retina. It's as high resolution as you can see, so they don't have to give you a number. Once it's Retina, you can't see the dots, and anything more doesn't matter.
And back in the old days, you had to have like a multiple of the actual resolution to make it not be weird in diagonals and so on.
You still have to do that on high.
So I realized that they're doing the same thing with cameras. You have the it's not quite the same, but they virtualize the cameras. You have the 0.5 resolution, the 1x resolution, and the 5x resolution on these 3 cameras.
Right.
And They are, well, first of, like years ago, I thought, oh, they're doing this to remove like the complexity. So you don't talk about focal lengths in millimeters and that weird tech stuff, and it's easier for everyone. But it also allows them to virtualize the optics, because you notice when you take a picture and you move the camera a bit closer, sometimes it switches the camera to a different one.
Yes, it does. It changes
without changing the magnification. And
it chooses a different lens is what it's doing, right?
But for what reason? And the interesting thing is, I realized this when I was using Halide, a different camera app, where you can choose a specific camera, and that is then the camera is not switching automatically to another one. Right. And I just noticed that if I have the 5X camera on, I can't get close to take a picture.
Right, because you're on the telephoto.
That has a minimum focus distance of like 40 inches or something.
But that's only in Halide, because in the Apple camera, it'll switch to a different camera.
Yeah, but it uses a different camera with a different crop or a different zoom factor to mimic the other camera. And depending on which camera you land on, or depending on which camera the phone decides to use, you end up with a different resolution of your photo. Right. So you end up with 12 megapixels, even though your camera might be able to do 48 megapixels.
That's right.
So it's interesting how this whole thing is becoming a sliding scale, all to make it simple and easy for people to use. But if you come from traditional photography, you are kind of used to balancing these things out, and you have a lot of experience, which in that case you don't really need anymore.
But what's the focal length? I need to know the focal length. I know but that's exactly right. And what their attitude is, we're just going to do this automatically in the background, and 99% of the audience will never notice. It's only pro photographers.
Most people don't care, and as long as you look at these photos on the display of the iPhone,
pixel peeps that you notice.
It doesn't matter if you print them out big size, then you will notice. But other than that, most people won't mind. But if you are a photographer and you are a DSLR shooter or a mirrorless shooter, and you have these skills, try a different camera app, because then you can really kind of nail it down on that specific camera, and then you know what you'll get. But you will also have to add in more skill to juggle the technical side of the photography. Right, so it's an interesting kind of shift that's happening here.
This has kind of been Apple's philosophy all along. This is photography for non-photographers. And I would say, in their defense, the non-photographer is getting better and better and better images, more and more flexibility, more and more of what they want, which is just give me a picture and make it kind of match what I'm seeing as I'm shooting it.
Yep.
And that's,
of course,
but then that's the argument for people like you and me having a camera as well as just the phone, because we want more control, right?
I have these around. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to even be a fancy camera. It could be the Fujifilm, or, there are lots of cameras. There aren't very many point and shoots anymore, because
these are getting more popular too, by the way. Again, they're coming back, the digital point and shoots, because of their lesser processing of images. When you shoot with a smartphone, you have
that.
You have the HDR. Everything is everything is detail. There's no blown out windows. There's no black shadows. Everything has detail. A very typical smartphone look. And there's a younger group of new photographers who want these cameras, and you can see the prices of them going up on the used market.
For instance, in fact, I was talking to somebody, a younger photographer, who really likes his Fujifilm X100.
It's an awesome camera.
$1,600.
Expensive, yes.
But that's exactly as you said. They're willing to pay for that.
The manufacturers can't make them anymore, because they are getting they do sell out, and they have reduced the size of their production lines, because they thought they wouldn't sell that many.
They didn't know. They didn't know there'd be this hipster market. And by the way, this is they get this. They don't want the black one, the matte one. They want the two-tone. They want to look like it's 1957.
Looks like old school. Yes.
It's pretty funny, actually. But by the way, an excellent camera. Is this a full frame? I don't know. Is it? I don't.
Good question. But it is a rangefinder, and it's the only, I think, camera that has a hybrid rangefinder, which means you look through the viewfinder and you can switch between the optical path, as in looking through it, as you do with your Leica, and then there's a different mode where it shows you a digital electronic viewfinder.
That's a good combination.
That gives you additional information. I think there's even a half and half. It's pretty cool.
And you can tell if you look at Fujifilm's website who the audience is for this. This is not old farts like me. That's for sure. Good. I'm glad. I want to see. And the other thing hipsters are doing, we talked last time about Jeff Bridges' weird pano camera.
Wideluxx.
Wideluxx. That's the other thing. Are hipsters still looking for those weird Russian cameras, or this, what is it? The Texas Leica? Are they still?
But by the way, the Texas, again, I'll show you next month. The Texas Leica isn't made in Texas. It's not a Leica, but it looks like a Leica, and it's big, and everything in Texas is bigger. So that's why they call it a
Who makes the Texas Leica?
Fuji.
Oh, well, it's a Fuji.
They used to make it until, I don't know, 100 years ago. No, maybe 20 years ago or something.
Brett Jones says he still carries his Olympus point and shoot with him everywhere.
Totally.
Yeah, the TG4 is waterproof, dustproof, so you know,
a rugged one. Yeah,
and it's tiny. It slips in your pocket. I recommended that for a long time because it's a nice little kind of companion. Do pros still take a point and shoot as well as the big camera, or I think the phone now has replaced that.
I think the phone has taken that place for most professionals. Yeah. And I shoot a lot on the phone because the quality is getting better, and with the other apps that have like access to the raw sensor, like Halight's zero mode, which leaves the processing out as much as possible. Yeah. So you have that's again where it gets interesting, because you have a bit more access to the camera as opposed to having access to this virtualized layer in between that Apple provides.
Now, one other thing, in fact, this was the excuse I had for buying this Leica M11P, is it has content credentials in it.
It's the first camera on the market that has that technology built in. And I'm pretty sure most people are not aware of that yet, that what's coming.
We had a guest on TWiT last week, on This Week in Google last week, Nathan Freitas, who has always worked for the public good, and he has a company called Prooflog, prooflog.org. They are adding to both Android and iOS cameras this content credentials idea. The idea of, for the geeks among us, it's a public key cryptography system. So the camera has a private key that's unique to the camera. And then when the picture is delivered, it's delivered with this public key. So you can validate that photo came from this camera. And then the next step, of course, is having Adobe and others, Adobe's the first to do it, support this so that when the photo is modified, a record of the modification goes along with the content credential, right? Am I describing that accurately?
Yeah, pretty much. And it's mainly furthered and triggered by generative AI.
We need it.
Image generators, because it's getting harder and harder to distinguish, and sometimes impossible to see if a photo has been taken by a human or made by an AI. And if you look at cameras like the Pixel 9 Pro, that can add things to photos, generative parts that look very realistic, that is posing a threat to authentic photography, to the real photography, and being able to tell those apart in a mostly reliable way. This is the first initiative that kind of got some traction around that, because I mean, AI is for humans. AI poses some risk. It's faster. It's often better or subjectively better. It's more affordable. So. And it will become better much, much better very quickly. So
yeah, I want to see this, of course, in all cameras.
It's coming.
All
I mean,
software.
like M11, the M11P has the first content
Right.
credentials chip.
Right.
The Nikon and Canon are working on prototypes. They're pretty sure they have those in the lab. Every other manufacturer is probably looking into that. Then there's like platforms that where images are, like social media platforms that began to join the C2PA, the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity. Those are the people behind content credentials, and software is beginning to implement it, like Adobe, the generators, but also Photoshop and Microsoft, Bing Image Creator, and OpenAI, and Meta, and so on. Apple, not quite yet, but I guess it's a matter of time.
There's actually a big Apple story that broke today that might be germane. Apple bought Pixelmator.
They did, yes.
Yeah, and of course, Pixelmator makes, I would say, one of the best tools for photo editing on
and it's
iOS.
a good fit because Apple does not have a native image editor.
After Aperture went
on
away,
board.
they stopped making it, and they relied on Adobe.
Yeah.
And I'm very hopeful that at some point, Apple will not only take Photomator and Pixelmator and make them part of the Apple ecosystem for free, but maybe build in content credentials. I'm going to see if I can find the content credential setting here on my camera.
And of course, the reason why that is intriguing, the content credentials, is that it helps you regain trust for your photography.
Right.
You are a photographer, you have an exhibition, and you don't want people guessing what you like. If you just gave an AI a prompt, and or if you were really there and took that actual picture.
Right. So I have it turned on, and then
is it off by default? Or?
Yeah, I think it might be. And then you get to say who it is. I put my phone number and my name in there, so it's signed. And so and then you see it has the logo of the content credentials site and so forth. And every picture I take, you can at least say, well, that was at some point, at least a real photograph.
Of course,
taken
it
on this camera.
It doesn't stop me from putting Leo Laporte in my camera, and
no, but you can't prove.
But it shows that
that
a camera has taken it. That's the point.
That's the main thing.
Yeah, that's the main point.
And yeah, you're right. The Leo Laporte could be modified. It's basically just EXIF information, but it wouldn't then match the public key, the private key of the camera.
It has a credibility function.
Yeah,
and that's
It's funny that on the
also changing things, and some people don't like it. And of course,
really?
you can still leave it out. You don't have to do this, but then
that's the thing.
The
It's
platforms in not too far future, the platforms will let you check that.
Yeah, I want this. It is funny that on the website contentcredentials.org, they have an image of a penguin in the desert, and that is exactly what we're talking about here. Maybe that was a real.
If you click on the little inspect at the right top,
right,
you get on that web page.
You can see what happens.
Above it, you have an inspect link.
Right.
At the top, and that will give you a page where you can actually drag and drop any picture and have it check it for you.
Oh, the web page itself has
all the way up,
button.
right? Inspect.
I see what you're talking about. So I could take an image.
Yeah, drag and drop it. Get a picture from Adobe Firefly and drag and drop it in there, and it'll tell you, oh, this has been made by Firefly.
This is an AI image. Let me actually now I didn't realize that. I'm going to drag one of my.
And that's just one implementation. Of course, that will end up inside of Photoshop and so on.
Right.
So,
and I would hope that there would be more. But eventually, you have to have a standard, right? You have to have. One probably
company. Going to be the standard. That's my assumption, and we'll see over the next months how this develops. But I would guess that a lot of software manufacturers will sort of have to come on board and use that, because if you have an editor a piece of editing software that doesn't do that, then a lot of the platforms will show your stuff as I don't know. Question mark, and that might it's a mark of trust, of quality, of credibility.
Let me drag. So I'm exporting these, not the RAWs, but the JPEGs. So that's question number one: is do the JPEGs preserve that information?
I would think so. It's the metadata that is signed, digitally signed in some way.
Yeah. Here, let's just.
So when it comes directly from the camera, it should probably.
This is I hadn't tried this yet. So here's a couple of images that I took. One is the original, and let me just see which one this is. This is, I think, the original, and then one is black and white, but both are JPEGs. So that's I'm curious what's going to happen here when I drag a file on here. That's the black and white. No content credential was preserved. Well, that's disappointing. Let's see this one. Same thing. So I'm going to have to export the original in order to
Is there maybe an export setting in the camera? Or where did you export that from?
Apple Photos.
Oh, no. Apple Photos probably strips that information.
So it's not preserving it. But let me see if I export the RAW, it should have it, right?
Possible, yeah.
You see, you could see we are in the very early stages.
And of course, camera manufacturers love that because that means they can sell more cameras in the future with the technology.
All right, I'm exporting the original. Let's see what that looks like. This is very interesting.
So yeah, this is the early steps in cryptographic signatures inside of photo metadata.
This did get preserved in the DNG file, which is the RAW file, exported from Apple Photos. You can in fact see the original content details here on the right. The app or device used, the camera capture details.
This view is not showing that.
Oh, it's too small. Wait a minute. Let me make it a little bit bigger for you here. So you can see it on the right. This is a picture of my good friend Marcus Buick, who is our sound guy at Tech TV, and his wife. And then this is on the right. Can I zoom in on that? Yes, I can. The credit and usage camera capture details, lens used, everything, and about this content credential. So that's good. That's only if I export the RAW, right?
And that's pretty much the similar thing to your browser HTTPS protection.
Yeah. Yes, it's using public key
It works a very
crypto.
similar way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like it that it does preserve this, but that is the issue is if you process it in any way, and in this case, if you process it using even Apple Photos,
at this point,
you strip out all of the content credential, and that means
at this
Apple,
point,
I'm looking at you.
I expect them to sooner or later follow up on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, that's not why I got the Leica M11P, but it gave me cover.
Yeah, but you have the latest in technology there.
Well, I was very interested in this whole idea of content credential, and if you're interested, you should listen to our conversation with Nathan Freitas from proofmode.org. That was Wednesdays this week in Google, so you can go look at that at twit.tv/twig. Any other photography news on your mind?
Oh, there's a little update on the Wideluxx. If anyone watched the one from last month, Jeff Bridges and Susan Bridges, his wife, and SilvergrainClassics magazine are recreating that turret camera, the wide angle one, and I got the SilvergrainClassics magazine that has an entire story on that.
Nice,
which is also linked here in the link. And I finally found out who will make the camera.
Oh.
It's a recreation of the Wideluxx, and it will be made in Germany by OPC Bad Kreuznach, which is a company that is more known for industrial optics and cameras and things. But
I think I have a Kreuznach lens, though. I think that they bought the Meyer-Görlitz brand, which is an old German lens brand, and they made some
very special manual focus lenses under that brand, and they are the ones who will make it. And it still says 2025 is when you can get it. They are apparently well in the prototyping phase, and there will be a documentary of that production being shot. And we'll find out. They want to launch this, as they write, in a crowdfunding initiative. So it'll be probably on Kickstarter or something, and it's not going to be cheap. That's my prediction.
So SilvergrainClassics is a magazine for, I'm guessing, black and white photography, film photography buffs, maybe?
Yes, and I ordered it from the UK because it's a magazine that is mostly available in the UK. They make it and print it in Germany, I think, but I couldn't find it here, so I had to go the round trip over the pond and back, and it was anyway. So and these guys from the magazine, they have good contact into the German camera maker scene. So that's
how they found out.
That's how they found out, or that's how this whole thing came together. So we'll see.
In your opinion, this is a good choice for a manufacturer?
As far as I know, I haven't really had anything from them. Again, they make industrial optics for manufacturing and things like that, but that doesn't mean they are a bad manufacturer. I haven't tried the lenses they make.
Optics business.
Yeah, I think they should be fine. And then last but not least, little bit of news: Intrepid, the makers of 4x5 large format cameras from the UK, they came on the market years ago with a very cheap, comparably cheap new 4x5 camera. They now came out with a shutter, an electronic shutter, which is, if you're into 4x5 photography, there are no new shutters. There's only old mechanical stuff out there that you have to kind of buy on eBay and hope that it works.
I'm very confused. Why is the shutter separate from the camera?
In the whole large format photography thing is very different from anything else you know.
Now, we're not talking medium format.
No, we're talking large format, 4x5 inches.
4x5 inches. And that's the film.
That's the film. And the lens and the shutter are usually a unit. So the lens is built into the shutter is built into the lens. And that
are these the cameras where the guy puts his head underneath a hood?
Yes, they are. Okay. They're awesome. They're awesome. And it was for years and years, there were no new shutters and no new lenses. And they are now, it's out on Kickstarter, and it's not expensive compared to other options. They have an electronic shutter, and they have a lens, which a 150 millimeter, which is on that film size, is like a 50 millimeter on your full frame. And it's just amazing that a company like them has done that. And
awesome that large format's still around. So you would buy these, the bellows is a modular thing, the back plane is a modular thing, and the lens does anybody still? And you're saying nobody makes these anymore? You
will not get new lenses for large format cameras. You have to buy used, which is a bit of a deterrent for many people. And now you have an option for a decent lens and an electronic shutter, which is rechargeable, and it's a universal fit for many other large format cameras as well. So
it's a Kickstarter. Search for Intrepid Lens and Shutter Project.
And you can get once that's over, the Kickstarter is over, you can get a large format camera 4x5 plus the shutter plus the lens for $1,200, which
I think it'd be kind of fun. It's for a studio. You can't carry that around.
Oh yeah, you can. I take those out in the field,
right?
Oh, they're not so heavy. You can take them out in the field, but it's not a point and shoot kind of thing. It's a very different photography. You will spend like 20 minutes for one photo.
Okay. And then the film, is it in a bracket and a holder?
In sheets. And
preloaded?
Each sheet is one photo, and you load it in the dark into a cassette.
That's why you need the hood.
That has a no. That's not. The hood is a different thing. No, you put it into a cassette, and you pull in what's called a dark slide in front of the film, so it's dark. And
how many can you get in the cassette?
2, one on each side.
2 shots.
2 shots, and then you have several cassettes with you, and then you hopefully mark which one you exposed and which one you didn't, and so on. You can make many mistakes, but if you, by the way, next year we'll have a workshop here on that, but in German.
So it's a very high resolution image because it's the negative is 4 inches by 5 inches.
Yeah, I don't have anything here handy, but I can show you next time. It's amazing, and it has completely changed my digital photography because you learn so much about photography doing that.
I've seen, people use these in architectural so that you can tilt. It's a tilt shift.
It's like a tilt shift, just way more flexible. Like you can tilt, shift, squeeze, swing left and right, up and down. You can.
So there's another 80 ways to go wrong as well, right? Right. You could have a completely distorted image. You're just doing a portrait.
Yes.
Wow. But imagine, I mean, am I right? Was Ansel Adams large format?
Yes. Even larger sometimes. Like this 4x5 that's 8x10 even, which is, you can't afford. So
it's insane.
But it is it's a different.
And how do you get this processed? You
develop this yourself, usually.
Your own chemistry.
There's still labs out there that will process that.
Is it an Ektachrome process, a Kodachrome? Is it
most of it is black and white, but then there's also and black and white is easy to do, and then there's also color negative film out there. There's some slide film out there, and these are the standard processes. So
so it'd be Ektachrome or Kodachrome or whatever.
But the lab will need to have like special development tanks.
Yeah, because they don't have anything that big normally.
Yes.
OMG. And then you really want a darkroom because then you also want an enlarger to print it. And you need a 4x5 enlarger.
Well, the thing is, in Intrepid, they are so smart. They have built an enlarger for their cameras, as in you can use the camera as an enlarger by putting a light on the back.
That is so smart.
And then sliding in the 4x5.
Because that's all an enlarger really is.
And projecting it through the lens that you take the picture with.
Look at the images, though. I think if you just go to the Kickstarter.
Scroll up. This is an early one, but scroll up and you'll see like they get better because it's so much control over geometry, over bokeh, over like anything you like,
and crispness. I mean, imagine. Wow. Oh, this is Ilford Ortho Plus. So Ilford still makes film for this.
Ilford does, Kodak does. You get Tri-X on that side.
Tri-X is so grainy. You wouldn't want to use. You'd want to use
Tri-X is only grainy if you develop it in some developers. You can get a very fine, almost fine grain Tri-X if you want to.
Okay. So I was shot when I wanted finer grain, I would shoot plus X or a slower film than Tri-X.
Yes. You definitely get more grain, but Tri-X doesn't have to be grainy.
Oh, that's interesting. See, this is why you need to read the film photography
That's in there. Yes, that's in there.
I'm sure it's in there. It has to be in there. In fact, you have large format photography in there. So there you go. Chris, we love talking to you. See, I'm so glad we're still doing this. And I know many of you are. Thank you to Renee Silverman at the Tech Guy group on Flickr.com. If you have a submission for Renee, just tag it TG Delicate. Forgotten. Has to be something you maybe don't forget to do it. There it is. Forgotten. The forgotten assignment.
Focus.
That's why, see, I don't know how about the 5D, but that's why I use this Sony FX30 because the focus, that's right. It's focusing on the eyes. I have to cover my eyes, but the focusing is so fast. Very fun. Chris Marquardt will be back in roughly a month. So we can get on you want to do it November? What would it be? That would be December. First day of, let's look at the calendar. I don't know. First day of December.
4th, 5th? Thursday.
I see no reason we shouldn't do it. That's the 5th.
I can also 5th. Do the week before, the 28th. I'm open.
Let's see, the 28th. That's not going to give us enough time for our intrepid
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. The 5th is about 5 weeks.
5 weeks is good.
Yeah.
That way you can get 5 pictures in. All right, let's plan it. December 5th, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, 2100 UTC. Or no. 20.
Yeah, I think 2100 is about right.
2100 UTC. Thank you, Chris Marquardt. Discover the topfloor.com if you want to go on those Eastern European photo drive next spring. It's going to be amazing. Also, his books are there, photography, lots of links. He is really the king. All right, do you still use Adobe Lightroom? I know you did the wonderful
I'm
Lightroom.
still a Lightroom Classic guy, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How much longer?
It's still a de facto standard for most photographers, for most old photographers.
It's because of the digital asset management, honestly, because I think you can get good tools.
They grab you and then your metadata is in there and your edits are in there. And it's very hard to get out of that, yes.
Chris, you are a blessing. And all the photographers watching, thank you, because we love photography and it's great to keep it alive and keep doing it and get serious about it.
And thanks for having me.
Yeah, always a pleasure. We stream this everywhere during the show. So if you want to see it right away, watch live December 5th. But otherwise, club members can see it after the fact on the TWiT Plus feed. And we'll put it on YouTube in public a month later. So January 5th, 2025. Thank you so much, Chris Marquardt.
Thank you.
Bless you, my friend. We'll see you next time. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.